Doctor slash therapist of Reddit. Do you have any no, that's not normal stories? If so, what abnormal habit slash oddity did the patient have thinking it was normal? Guy in his 20s came in complaining of belly button problem. I examined him. He had an irritated scab inside the belly button caused by aggressive lint picking. But dude was sweaty and had a slight tremor. Looked like crap. When I asked how he was feeling overall, he said, "Oh, okay, I guess. Just a little tired. Drank a little more this week than usual. Probably overdid it." I had to pry for details and turns out he drank a gallon of gin over the last 3 days and stopped drinking alcohol when he started vomiting large amounts of blood and pooping a mixture of bright red blood and dark sticky stuff. Melina digested blood. He was totally unaware of the fact that he was going through alcohol withdrawal, sweating, shaking, because he hadn't stopped drinking long enough in recent memory to experience symptoms. I sent him straight to the emergency room, where they found a tear in his esophagus that required immediate intervention, and he was admitted for inpatient alcohol detox. I read his hospital note. He still insisted that the ed doc examine his belly button. I love the note at the end. "I don't care about my life. Just save my belly button." His belly button did, after all, potentially save his life by being scabby. Woman came to the hospital because she was feeling tired and casually mentioned her persistent vaginal bleeding she'd been dealing with for 2 months. She said it wasn't ever a large amount, so she didn't think twice about it. Labs were done and her hemoglobin was 3.9. For context, that's low. Like, you should be dying low. But she looked perfectly fine. 50-ish-year-old man who came in for chronic issue follow-up. He brought his wife with him this time around. At the end of the visit, she says, "Hey, tell the doc about that thing you can do." He turns to me proudly and tells me that he can whistle from his penis. If he really pushed, he could blow gas from it. His wife insisted it wasn't normal, but he was certain most guys could. Turns out, he had a connection between his bowel and his bladder. Mom brings her kid in because the babysitter was concerned about these spells the child would have. Apparently, the child would have episodes where he would just blankly stare at them and not acknowledge whatever it is they were telling him or whatever he was doing. The parents just thought he was being an asshole and not listening to them, or being absent-minded. Kid turned out to be having absent seizures. A younger gal who had come in for generalized abdominal pain that she experienced on and off for years, but just always wrote off to either menstrual cramps or bad food or life. We had asked her if her bowel movements were regular, and she said yes. At some point, someone was sharp enough to ask her how often she had bowel movements, to which she said about once every 2 to 3 weeks. She had been suffering from pretty severe constipation, but just thought it was normal to have BMs once to twice a month. I'm sure I have more, but I think I wrote enough for now. Ninja Reddit. Oh yeah, I have a lot of stories involving skin lesions. Please people, no doctor will ever fault you for wanting to just get something looked at. There are a few easy ways to tell if you're looking at something potentially evil. Gotta amend the above edit due to people's bad experiences. No decent doctor should blow you off if you're concerned about a skin lesion. They should at least take the time to discuss why it is they are not worried about a lesion. If it's not concerning. I was a patient, but when I went in for a routine physical, the doctor poked my extended belly and asked how long it had been like that. I laughed and said, "What? My beer belly? Oh, since I was 21 probably." Turned out that, no, the beer belly was a cyst that had grown really large, and that was why my friends kept saying I looked pregnant. I thought I just had really shitty friends. Had to have emergency surgery, and for a week or so they did not know if it was a cyst or ovarian cancer. It was a pretty big scare. Believe it or not, this also happened to me. I found it because I became pregnant, and they saw it in the ultrasound. Also had to have an emergency surgery, and I lost 32 pounds that day. I always just thought I gained weight weird or something. 32 pounds. Holy fucking shit. The lady with type B COPD who had long-term cigarette user symptoms. She spontaneously got COPD, having never smoked in her entire life. How do you determine people aren't lying in situations like this? I know it's not terribly self-serving, But people lie about weird shit at the worst times for bad reasons. Cigarettes leave a lot of shit in your system and it's easy to tell if someone smokes. You know those blackened lungs they show you? Those are just one part of what cigarettes does to your body. Fuck. Your lungs actually go black? I just assumed that was hyperbolic and wildly exaggerated in order to get people to stop smoking. A pimple on her breast that was actually a 4-inch wide, bleeding and necrotic breast tumor protruding through her skin. Oh, that's sort of like me. I thought I had a pimple on my back until it shot out what I could only describe as moldy old cheese mixed with cream of chicken and blood. Wasn't necrotic as far as I know, just an abscess. The smell is indescribable. I'm sure you, as I assume, a medical professional, know what I mean. My pet got one of those, and I ended up draining it myself. It was not great. The pus was bright green. I feel like my story belongs here, even though I'm the patient, since the exact scenario happened to me. A few years back my mental health totally took a skydive. As a result I dropped out of school and had to start a recovery program. The first thing I had to do was talk to a psychologist. During these conversations with the psychologist, she'd focus on different parts of my life. So one day she'd ask about relationships and the next, childhood memories and so on. After a few conversations she focused on my social life. I then told her that it's pretty much non-existent. And it always has been. She then stated that I must have suffered from loneliness a lot then. I just told her that I've never actually felt lonely at any point in my life. After all, it's pretty hard to feel lonely with the two voices in your head always keeping conversation. But surely she knew that. Right, well, as it turns out, no. Apparently everybody else only have their own voice in their head. My entire life has been a lie.